So our last topic of the day is on why everyone needs a Roth IRA. So first of all, if you're completely unaware, an IRA stands for Individual Retirement Account, and it's similar to a 401k, but unlike a 401k, it doesn't require a W-2 employer to open, so anyone can do it. And if you're not in the United States, W-2 employer is just a normal salaried employer, salaried or hourly employer. And so currently you can contribute to a Roth IRA regardless of age, after 18, and you can start withdrawal at 59 and a half, and you can continue doing that whenever, which is a really cool thing. And if you're younger than 18, you can even have your parent or guardian generally, open a custodial IRA in your name. And that's a pretty awesome thing to do. And if you're in a position, if you're someone who's just starting out about to, has young kids or has a family member that has young kids, this is something that if they have the means to, they absolutely should. Have links below explaining how to do that. So definitely getting started earlier is better. And if I had it to do over again, I definitely would take any birthday money I had as a kid and put that in there, because it pays a lot out in the end. And so a traditional IRA is done with pre-tax income. So what this does is this makes the initial principal, so the initial amount put in more, but it's then taxed upon withdrawal. So you have more taxes taken out at the end. So that's what a normal IRA is. Whereas a Roth IRA is a special tax advantaged account where you put post-tax money in, and then that way, whenever you pull it out, you don't pay any taxes on the gains. So in theory, the average person, this seems unimportant. But let's assume that when you are younger, right, that you are making less and therefore you're taxed in a lower tax bracket. So in this situation, it's important, because that's the majority of people, to prioritize a Roth, in my personal opinion, because that way, whenever you're putting it in, like say, you're making, let me look at the tax bracket real quick. If you're making, like, say, so if you're making, like, say, $50K a year right now, right, then you're getting taxed at around 22%. Whereas if you're making, over 100K, you're getting taxed at closer to like 30%. So that's a pretty big difference. Long term. So in my opinion, I personally like to prioritize Roth simply just for the tax reasons. Now, even more so though, you're probably trying to save up, like me, for a house if you're a young person or some other big purchase. And that's where a Roth IRA really sets itself apart. Because with a traditional IRA, since it's not taxed up front, that means that if you withdraw anything, you end up having to pay taxes on it, and you'll end up having to pay a 10% tax penalty as well. That sucks. You don't want to do that. Whereas with a Roth IRA, you're able to withdraw any contributions that you put in, i.e. what you put in, any principal, but you can't take any of the gains out without paying a penalty. But you can take any contributions you put in out early, which is a huge benefit and a no-brainer, because that way you have the flexibility, which is kind of like what a savings account has, but with the upside that a retirement account has. So kind of the best of both worlds. While ideally I don't plan on pulling money out of my Roth IRA, having that as an option is a pretty big thing, because one thing that's pretty daunting for a lot of people with traditional IRAs and 401ks is if I save too much, then I might not have enough if I end up getting in a bind and I don't want to withdraw and pay that penalty. That's why I think a Roth IRA is definitely a pretty good place to start, and no brainer. And so keep in mind, a Roth IRA is just a type of account though. This is not a specific investment. You pick the investments inside of that account. This is just a account that is tax advantaged. That's all it is. And once you've opened that account, you pick investments just like you would a normal brokerage account, Robinhood account, whatever. And And personally, I choose to stick mostly with index funds. A good example of an ETF for that, since that's available in any brokerage account, is VOO, VOO. But that's up to you. You'll have to do your own research. But as an example, if you're someone that doesn't want to go through opening up a traditional brokerage account and you open up one with, say, like, I don't think Robinhood does it right now, but if you open up, say, Webull, which I have a link for below, and it's a pretty easy app that's on your phone, so a lot of people like it for that reason. You have access to ETFs like VOO, and that's a good place to start if you're someone that's just getting, your journey begin. And it's important to get started as early as possible. And it's, a great way to get started with an IRA is, as an example, just putting your tax return in there. So even if you can't save money any other way, if you're able to at least, keep your budget in line throughout the year, then presumably your tax return is going to be, quote unquote, extra money for you. And on average, a tax return in the United States is about $3,000. And $3,000 is about half of the contribution maximum that, you can put in an IRA per year if you're under the age, I think 70 or 65. And so that's a good way to get started. And then you can, work to have a little bit of extra room in your budget to add a little bit more gradually each year. And I want to show you as an example, like here's a calculator. This is on NerdWallet, and the link is in description. And let's say you put in just that $3,000 per year, just to give you an idea of how big of a deal this is. So if you put in, say, $3,000 per year, and let's say you're age 30 ballpark. So cool. You're age 30. And then let's say you're going to retire at 60, just so we have super easy math here. And that means 30 years. And let's go with 8% because that's about average and single. Cool. Awesome. Now, when we look here, yeah. So what we're looking at is, that's pretty insane. Why is that? Oh, good. Just making sure. Yeah, cool. That's insane. That's with only 3,000. You're looking at 1.3 million. That's an insane gain, especially when you consider that 3,000, when you're looking here, you have 3,000 and times 30, simple math, 90,000. That math's definitely wrong. Hold up. There we go. Yeah, that's looking at, that's definitely looking at, something else. Yeah, so we're saying, okay, cool, dope. 3,000 years to grow, 30, cool. Interest rate, we're looking at, yeah, 8%, cool. And perfect. And then future value, calculate. Okay, cool. That makes more sense. I was about to say that made no sense. Yeah, so you're looking at only putting in 90,000. You're looking at over, $350,000 by the time you retire. That's tax free. That's a pretty great start. And you definitely need to look at what your goals are for retirement, but that's a pretty great place to start. And then obviously, if you double that, if you're able to get up to the maximum, you're looking at, 734,000. So 3/4 of the way to $1 million just with a Roth IRA. And that's starting pretty late at 30 because a lot of people have, things like student loans that they want to pay off beforehand or other types of debts. So even if you're getting started late, even if you are retiring at 60 as opposed to 65, so even earlier, it's going to put you way ahead of your peers. And that's why it's really important to, open and contribute. And also, you need to keep in mind that this exists because the government wants to incentivize investing. It's a really good deal. So you should take advantage of it because it's subsidized so that you will. And, like I said, if you're able to save extra money and you have a taxable income under $122,000 per year and you haven't started, definitely sign up for one because there's really no reason not to. And when I say taxable income of under 122K, that means that say you have, let's say you even make up to 140,000 and the 401k limit per year is, 18.5. Well, you have, if you're maxing out your 401k at 18.5, then you should still be under 122,000 taxable income, because that'll lower your taxable income by $18,500. So if you're making, anything above 140, then probably not, but under that, you should be maxing this out if you have the option. And yeah, definitely get a Roth IRA and check in the links below, because I have some good resources. That way you can double check my work. If you enjoyed this clip, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, and check out the full live version of the Wealth for 99 podcast, where we talk finance, economics, and public policy from a working class perspective. We'll see you there.